We are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded the company, so we've got that going for us too.
And we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
It's holding up.
Today is our 49th episode.
We're so close to 50.
That's true. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a few weeks because I'm on vacation for the next 2 Thursdays.
Wait, you've been authorized to go on vacation? That's it. We're just going to get another developer to do the show.
What, you do the 50th show without me?
It'll be fine. We'll get them to wear one of those super realistic rubber masks so they look just like you, indistinguishable.
This is making me very nervous. Folks, don't take anything I say for the next 2 weeks at face value.
What are you talking about? You are always very trustworthy. Wait a minute. Did you say face value? Oh, I see what you did there.
Anyway, that was worse than I thought it was going to be. We are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions.
But if you don't ask any questions, however, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of him returning from vacation in 3 weeks to try and remember how to do his job.
And if you do ask questions, you get to see that in 3 weeks anyway. So really, win-win.
Oh man, I'm going to have to experience that myself. All right. As always, we have pulled some questions forward from the previous show that we did not get to, and we will answer some of those while we're waiting for new questions to come in. And before we get to that, we do have a few updates on items that have been flagged to be looked at by the dev team. So without further stalling for time, we're going to get to those. It's on that tab. There it is. All right. Now, as far as fixes go this week, we do have a rather light list, but the one item that is on here is hopefully addressing, we'll see how this pans out because I've implemented it and it's going live, is the saving delay at the end. This was actually pointed out to me, or the fix for this was pointed out to me by a user on the Discord, which was extremely helpful because I hadn't had a time to dig into it in too much detail, but it seems that one of the systems that Unity uses when you close to sort of alert the game that it's closing had changed, and there's a new function for that, and they pointed that out, and I implemented with that, and it looks like it's working, so fingers crossed that that is fixed. It should be out in the next build that Peter does. So shout out to the player from the Discord. I didn't get their permission to say their name on stream, so I'll leave it at that for now, but definitely thanks for that. Next bit is ongoing issues here. We want to change the options when you're loading a save formation from the two options, just recalling the missing champions and not doing it, to recalling them, skipping missing champions, and also not doing it. We want to have a pity timer on the next epic on a chest on the time gate screen, as well as on the chest screen on the store. I still have to bug Justin about the missing node on the strong core. Justin, why is it still missing? We're not getting an answer on that. Someone will ask about it later in the stream, and you can...
They already have.
Perfect. We do want to get Havilar's imps to automatically spawn. We're going to save feats with formations, and I've added one here that has been asked for repeatedly, but I've put it on the list, and I'm going to get either Adam or Alexis to make a modification to the card, but we want to get some visual changes into the cards so that the rarity will read better for any kind of color blindness. And I know Mars would really appreciate that, and he's not even modding us today, so... All right, that's the list. So let's hop into some questions left over from the previous show.
All right. This week we were not derelict in our duty, and we did manage to pull forward some questions from last week's episode. So the first question that we pulled forward is from Cuddleguts, and it was, or what they asked last week was, the narrow bench box option leaves a patch of mismatched color above and below the champion portraits. Any chance that could be filled to match? More of a tongue twister than I thought it was going to be.
You know, I meant to open the game and check this before the stream. Does it do that? Is that a thing that's happening with that?
I feel like I've seen something about, at the very least, like some offset, like like the things being offset by a pixel or two. But I don't know the specifics of this one.
I'm going to take a look at that and see if that is happening. It shouldn't be happening, so it sounds like it's a visual bug. So it is happening. We can definitely get that fixed. assuming because of the questions there, it's probably happening. So we'll take a look. The other part of, I wonder if, I know the console portrait thing is treated differently. So it's possible that's overflowing as well. It could just be like the portrait's overflowing the box or something to that extent, but we'll take a look. All right, next question here. This one's for you, Justin. It is from McShisman. Could the goal level include what the enemy health level? So I think, sorry, and then the example they're giving is like area X and enemy HP is some e to the n number.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of something like this before, but certainly if you kind of know what your max bud is going to be, then having something like that could help you kind of look at the adventure and see whether or not you will probably be able to get past. I imagine this came up as a question as part of the player asking last week about the sort of the difficulty rating on adventures, and that being kind of out of touch with reality, to be fair.
/ impossible to know.
Impossible to, incorrect. So yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting kind of metric to use for it. Obviously, there's more stuff that goes into it than just what the enemy health is at the top level or the goal level. But yeah, that's certainly it's given me some ideas. So I appreciate that question.
Okay. This next question is from Zaznold, and I'm not sure it's a question. I think it just says, just to say thanks for retroactively sending an item after a store pack update. Oh, yes. Just to say thanks.
I wanted to comment on this question. So yes.
Just saying thanks for retroactively sending an item after a store pack update. That is a very cool policy.
Yeah, so this is in relation to Founders Pack 4, which we recently updated in the store to include a golden epic potion. It didn't have that on it when it launched back earlier in the year, and we decided that would be a cool thing we actually decided that would be a cool thing for Founders Pack 5 to have. And then we're like, hey, if we're going to put it in Founders Pack 5, why don't we put it in the existing Founders Pack as well? And so we retroactively added it to that, and if you had bought Founders Pack 4 before we put it in there, we gave it to you. So I think that's what they're referring to. And we almost always try to, if we update the contents of a pack, to make good on people who have bought the pack before. That would suck if we didn't do that. So you're welcome.
Okay. Next question here is from Thunderjp. First Tiamat Favor Blessing says increases all champion damage ×2. Is this different than increasing the champion damage by 200%?
Yeah, so this is a good question for kind of newer players, which is the reason I kind of pulled it up, because I know we've got a lot of newer players in the chat now because of the epic promo that's happened in the last week. So I think that the blessings is like the only place in the game we actually refer to damage with like a times multiplier, but a ×2 is equivalent to a plus 100%. And vice versa. Plus 100% is essentially equal to ×2. So yeah, that's a 100% bonus. Just doubles your DPS or your damage, and that's, I think, the only place in the game we refer to it in that way. Everywhere else we use the percentages, so you can compare apples to apples for different abilities.
Okay, and the last question pulled forward from last week is from Possible Cabbage. Possible Cabbage would like to know, is it a problem when a champion has a specialization that is either an always choose or a never choose? Many champions have a pick one that applies option, but for several champions there's a this choice just helps more option.
Yes. So from a design perspective, yes, we don't like it when we have specializations that have a very high usage, and we look at the specialization sort of metrics from time to time when we're looking at champion rebalances. That's one of the things we were looking at when we did our sort of 6 weeks of rebalances earlier this year. And we want the specialization pick percentages to be roughly equal. They don't have to be exactly equal, but we definitely don't want there to be like a situation where it's like 90% in one and 10% in the other. So yeah, there are definitely some out there that are that high, and we're kind of, as we get around to those champions, we will be looking at their specializations and adjusting them. A good example would be for any sort of speed champion where they've got one specialization that like helps their speed ability and another specialization that doesn't. Generally, those ones weight very heavily in the speed specialization area. So what we try and do there is we try and either make the non-speed option actually really, really big, so that if you're using them as a support, there's more of a sort of a thing of like, do I take the speed now or do I take the big buff when I get to my wall? And then for other speed ones that we're looking at, sometimes we've considered just removing the speed specialization, making that effect sort of a base option in the champion, so you don't have to basically waste a specialization on it, and then leaving the other options or adding another option to replace that one, so that the choices that you have aren't going to be no-brainer choices. We do want there to be, for our specializations, if we do a good job at it, we want there to be a situation where one specialization is better and another situation where another specialization is better for each specialization, so that there's always an opportunity to use them, and we see a pretty good split in the usage. So that's our design goal. There's definitely some situations where their champion is not meeting that design goal, but we will continue to try and move towards that.
All right.
Look at you go. You've highlighted so many questions down here.
Let's go back up in the dock.
Come on back up to the top. Join me at the top of the new questions list.
All right. Starting then with question 1 for today. This is a question from True One Hedda. I'm not butchering that, I hope. We'll see. We'll do worse later. And the question is, when did Solis Ultimate stop counting towards patron challenges?
So I did see this noted in our sort of internal company chat earlier in the week. It looks like maybe a build we put out earlier in the week caused this to happen. I'm not sure why or what changed to actually cause that, but I think from a design perspective, I think our intention is that Solis's sort of stance switches would count as ultimate uses, and so I will get the team to take a look at this again, because I think we kind of I know Peter looked at it and was like, well, Thunderous Smite, which is the one that goes off every 4 switches or so, is her actual ultimate. And the other ones are just stance switches, so maybe it's okay, but I think that sort of the intention was that it that each of them kind of count as a ultimate. So we'll take a look at that and see what's going on there.
Okay. Next question, which is in reference to that core question from above. This one here is from Jabsis, and it says, why not put a rest to the strong core questions by declaring it settled? If the extra node is a gold node and adding it will break existing layouts, the simplest solution is to declare it a won't fix.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I could see that as being a potential option. The gold fine is likely not going to make a big difference when we fix it, and so that's why I've been kind of a little bit wish-washy on especially the idea of just replacing the node and trying to find some way to fix it for people who have stuff going through that particular spot. So I will continue to think about this. I'll spend my entire vacation actually thinking about this particular thing. I'm sure Dave will message me every day while I'm on vacation being like, hey, how are we going to fix that strong core? How are we going to fix it?
I'll just automate it. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Let's see. The next question here is from Wandering Bereft. And they say, this is kind of a funny question. They say, previously David ended episodes with, we'd have to do something else. And then Justin would add, but we like doing what we do. David still does his part, but for some weeks now, Justin has stopped with his bit. So my question is, you all right? Are we getting you down?
I checked the script. It's not in there.
It's not in what? I've been saying it every week. I say we'd have to do something else. It's right here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Has the stream just been ending early and they've been missing all of our hilarious hot mics at the end?
Saying
like,
you say that we like to do what we do, and you're not saying that anymore. Therefore, he thinks you must, maybe you don't like it anymore.
I still kind of like it.
All right, that's a little early for that. Okay, moving on.
I'm surprised. Actually, I'm legitimately surprised by that question because I didn't think that I'd stopped saying that. So
but
I'll have to go back through
not in there. So you've been adding it.
I'm looking at the script right now.
It's not there. Anyway, just remember at the end. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Science Guy 31415 asks, can we get a Lunch Lady Azaka skin with her 2 pets being bully bugs?
I just highlighted this question because it's a funny suggestion. Though I was pretty happy with Farmer Azaka in the last set of Azaka skins we did. Or last set of skins we did that included Azaka, I should say.
Yeah, I feel like there's a joke I'm missing here, so... Okay.
Next question.
Next question is from Super Fluffy Kitty. The question is Nahara getting a buff? I assume that means to be she is a bottom tier DPS.
Yeah, Nahara is something of a mystery to me. There's I'm not entirely sure how we got her quite so out of whack that she's kind of below like Rosie, which is, Rosie is definitely a champion that doesn't have a lot of uses at this time. But yeah, it was surprising to me that Nahara was so far down there. So we still have to kind of investigate. I'm not 100% sure whether it is an issue with the sort of the spreadsheet that I used to balance, or if it's an issue with an implementation in there somewhere, and there's like an ability that is supposed to be doing something. Maybe something's supposed to be stacking multiplicatively, and is actually stacking additively or something like that, or just some stacks aren't counting, or what's going on there. But definitely Nahara is not supposed to be where she is, and is certainly not intended to be balanced for that. Let's see. Do you want me to ask the next question, Dave? Do you know anything about this one?
That doesn't look like something I know the answer to. So this question here, this one is from OG17, and the question is, do you know if someone saw last week's comment in the Mojang bug report 3848, which was an Epic's game bug, or bug report saying consistent that E to the 2 or E to the 3 damage fluctuation is affecting the foreground party every day. Mm-hmm. And they think that points to some bugged blessings, question mark. A bug like this wrecks farming setups for players who aren't using third-party scripts. Being higher priority would be appreciated.
Yeah, so I don't know the status of it. I do know that we have seen it as there's a thread here, an internal, from last Wednesday. And then we saw that Zertlish from the Discord did some research and figured out that it might be blessings. So it's on the list of stuff that Peter's looking into, but I'm not sure exactly when that will be looked into. So yeah, it is something we're aware of, and it's on the bug list.
Okay. All right then. Next question. This one is again from Super Fluffy Kitty, who's getting a fair number of questions in today. Is there any internal conversation being held around how the legendary system removes experimentation with new characters or new formations? My current legendary items give me around E to the 75. For a new champion would have to be incredibly overtuned to make me want to lose the investment that the legendaries give. It has all but removed any champion experimentation for me because I can no longer compare a champion fairly. A fully geared legendary is miles ahead of a non-legendary geared champion.
Yeah, so this is a great question. This is one of the challenges that we have as designers when we add sort of more power that is more focused on certain champions. And I think we are planning a couple of sort of small tweaks to the legendary system in the short term, which would be to adjust some of the costing so that it's easier to sort of get legendary items on new champions. And put a bunch of that cost into leveling up the legendaries as opposed to actually getting them in place. So that would, once that was in place, that would pull this a little bit closer together because it'd be easier to, give your new champions a little bit of power without sacrificing your Trials Mount Tiamat currency that you would otherwise be using to level up your existing ones. So there's some stuff we're doing there. But on a whole, I'm not as super excited about how the legendary system has turned out, and there is, I think, more I want to do with that. But we just haven't had the sort of the design bandwidth to take a look at that and see what it would entail to make some changes to that. But at some point in the future, yeah, I definitely want to take another look at the legendary system and see if we can address some of these issues.
Okay. Now, I didn't highlight all the questions through here, Justin, so if this 9 or 10 there is interesting to you, let me know.
We can talk about Valentine, I guess.
Sure. So this question here is from Jamic Unyielding. The question is, could you tell us a bit about the design process and decisions behind Valentine? The mechanics are fascinating to me.
Yeah, so for players who haven't unlocked yet, you can get Valentine right now during the event that just started yesterday. And Valentine basically has a mechanic where she buffs the party based on how many formation abilities are affecting her. So normally, the normal meta of Idle Champions is you get all of your support abilities to shoot at your main DPS. You have one DPS champion and a whole bunch of support champions, and they all focus on your DPS slot. Valentine allows you to kind of bend that meta a bit by having Valentine somewhere in the formation and your DPS somewhere else, because Valentine will redirect any formation abilities that affect her onto other DPS champions in the formation. And so, we were kind of looking at her in a similar way that we look at a champion like Artemis, where we're like, how can we make a champion that will sort of bend the meta a bit and sort of make people think about their formations in a different way? Because there's a lot of kind of fun interactions with Valentine. I know there were some of them where we pointed out in our sort of company chat yesterday, where you can kind of use a champion that normally buffs like rows behind them and get sort of weird redirections of that buff. I think the main thing that we looked at, we were looking at with Valentine, we were putting together, is how she would interact with Artemis actually. And we, after looking at the numbers, we made the decision to make sure that she is not exactly synergistic with Artemis. I think that could have been a big mistake if we had overlooked that, because she's definitely, she allows for some interesting formations, but she doesn't super synergize with Artemis in a way that would be pretty disastrous for the meta if she did. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in seeing what people come up with her. I like that, she can kind of switch things up, similar to when we did years and years ago. We did sort of the initial rebalance on Archon, and we added usurped power, and that was a really interesting time for us to kind of watch how players would use that ability to try and do kind of anti-formations where your support isn't necessarily pointed at your main DPS. And so I think Valentine can provide some more of that. Pretty exciting to be able to find these kind of opportunities to do these champions, and excited to see what people come up with.
Okay. So I just got an odd error message here, Justin, that from Zoom, which I've never seen before, but it is telling us that we have a time limit.
I see that. We've got 8 more minutes of time. Sorry, folks.
So I assume that when that runs out, we can just start a new meeting, but I think people should just be aware that is about to happen in 8 minutes, and I'm not sure exactly what the deal with that is, because I thought we had an upgraded account.
That's too bad, because in 8 minutes, I was going to say like the names of the next 6 champions that are going to come out. I was previously planning to do it, but I guess now I'll do it while it's in dead time.
Well, for the next stream, we'll have to figure out what's going on with that, because I do see here in the Steam general chat Sean talking about this happening to him yesterday, and he got the Codename account, which I thought we were using, but we'll just have to watch that when it happens and reconnect.
Zoom's cutting down on people using using the free thing. It's like Netflix. They're going to make us pay to share our accounts now.
Okay. Martin is saying he'll run the giveaway at the 8-minute mark to tide it over. Okay, perfect. All right. So I know that's coming. Moving on though.
Sure. I can ask this next one here for you. Also from Super Fluffy Kitty, who's getting a lot of questions in. Yeah. They ask, is there any update / progress on the adjustments to prevent unexpected behavior when hitting large values? We saw patron influence overflow recently, though actually only the display was overflowing. The backend was handling it just fine.
Yeah, so I mean, this is one of those things that when we did upgrade the way we were handling numbers to go past the E308 issue, or potentially some that previously were not expected to get anywhere close to that value. We had to go through and manually find the locations where that was happening and replace them. So something like this isn't a case of like an update / progress on adjustments to prevent this from happening. It's more like this was broadly taken care of initially, and then there are a few outliers where we may have missed some things. So it's not a common problem. It does happen from time to time when something that previously did not hit a large value does, and it turns out that we had missed it in our first pass through. But when it does happen, we go in and change the value type over, and it's not something that ends up being a difficult thing to do. It's more of a case of finding the cases where we had missed something. So it shouldn't be a common problem. When it does happen, it should be a quick fix, and there should be few and far between of those existing or left in the game, to our knowledge. So when we see them, we'll fix them. But there really shouldn't be very many of those remaining. Okay, next question. This one here is from Ailey2. Valentine has a lovely counter on her, showing the number of positional buffs affecting her. Could it be possible to get something similar for Artemis, showing the number of buffs observed? If not on the character model, then at least in the effects tab, now that information is spread out over all the individual incoming buffs.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think that it would be probably pretty difficult to do a change like that. To Artemis, I'm imagining that the way that he's set up is slightly different from how Valentine was set up, because she was sort of set up with the idea of showing this overlay from the get-go. But I don't know how easy this would be, to be honest. It does make me think of different ways that we could potentially show sort of incoming and outgoing buffs as overlays, and maybe something to improve upon the kind of circles under characters' feet. But yeah, I'm not sure how easy this would be to do to Artemis. I'm guessing probably not super easy, because generally hacking those kinds of things in after the fact is a challenge.
Okay.
4 minutes remain. Let's see. Next question here is from Maskiel, who asks, why are the YouTube uploads so inconsistent? Codename produces the vast majority of content for the game, and more often than not, the guides and tutorial stuff are not uploaded to YouTube for future reference.
So that's a good question. I don't have a total insight or total visibility into how the YouTube video uploads were being chosen, but it was my understanding that we did initially, we're pushing all of our Twitch content over to YouTube. But then there were some changes made around that just because of the sheer volume of it and how the YouTube algorithm promotes things that are viewed and not promotes things that are not viewed. And so I know that both Dylan and Todd were looking into that to try and sort of optimize sort of how the YouTube algorithm works for picking up our content on YouTube. And so I know they made some decisions on what pieces to put there or not, and I know they pared back the content that was going up there quite a bit. I don't have full visibility into that of sort of like which items they chose or which items they didn't choose to go there, but I know they were paring back what was getting pushed over, just to sort of play with how YouTube's algorithm works and try to get more sort of organic traffic in through there. So I believe that's why that was going on, but beyond sort of that high level view, I don't have any of the details.
Okay.
Now...
you've highlighted this one. I don't know anything about that.
So I think this is there's a question here. This one is also from Super Fluffy Kitty. It's talking about the suspension or account suspensions. I think this is the play history suspensions, Justin, because we've got an automatic system in place to try and detect players who are just
how is that? Okay.
Blatantly scripting calls to the server that if you get to a certain large volume of history records, we've tagged that as this isn't possible unless you're really just hammering the servers, and then then a temporary ban is issued. So the question here was, can you talk to the suspensions that just went out? Someone on the Discord got a 24-hour temporary ban for opening 90K bounty contracts using the new system.
Right. Yeah. Okay. When I read this, I thought somebody got a Discord ban. I'm like, I don't know why we're banning people from Discord for using the new system.
That's right. Open bounty contracts, and that's it. You're banned from Discord.
Yeah, but if they were doing that in game, they opened 90,000 using the new system. That would produce a fair number of play history entries. How many would that be?
A lot.
18,000. Yeah, it'd be a few. Yeah, oh, it wouldn't be that many. That's only 1,800 play history entries there if you're doing 50 at a time. I think it's just one per. We're getting into the technical details, but I think it's just one per open. So I don't feel like that by itself would trigger the sort of the auto detection. Basically, what Dave was talking about earlier, we have a system in place that basically uses the amount, the number of actions you do on the server as a proxy for are you scripting or not, and if you do enough, which is far more than I think opening 90,000 bounty contracts 50 at a time, then you get sort of a 24-hour ban. I don't think that this would have triggered that. But if it did, we could certainly take a look at that. If you can get them to open a ticket afterwards, we can take a look at their play history and see what's going on there if they triggered that system. So far, we've only ever noticed that it's specifically scripters that have been triggering it. So. And that's just in place because lots of play history entries on their back end start to cause issues with some of our server infrastructure. So we don't like that.
Yeah,
that's the point at which scripting gets onto our radar is when it starts to cause issues.
Yeah, and when it impacts other players. Right. So when it causes issues for the servers, that impacts other players, and yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah. Now we're looking for time.
Context.
Less than 1 minute. Ah!
Context specific on that is that, and there we go. We lost Justin. I'm just going to close and reopen this. As we said before, I got that warning from Zoom, which I'm not 100% sure why we're getting here, but that's no problem because we will just start another call and then make sure we're signed into the proper Codename account next time. And I will just copy that. And Justin will be back momentarily, we hope. All right, you're back.
I'm back, baby. Look, there's a giveaway going on. Shall we talk about the giveaway?
Keyword is Zoom.
All right, so right now in chat, you can see a whole bunch of people saying Zoom. It's not just because they love Zoom. It's because they are entering a giveaway to win 42 chests of your choice. If you enter the keyword Zoom, you'll be entered into that giveaway, have that chance to win. And it's 42 gold chests or 42 chests of your choice. It could be any type of chest that we have in the game except for Glory of Bahamut chests. But it could be gold Valentine chests if you want new chests for the new champions. It could be silver Rosie chests if you really just you're waiting for the opportunity for Rosie to get lots of cool buffs. You could do Electrum chests if you don't want to collect codes from streams and you just want to have a whole bunch of Electrum chests. Any type of chest in the game. I would personally go for Modron component chests because those are my favorite chests because I like to play with the pipes.
I know that. You say it every time.
I know. It remains true. So ask that question to Justin, who's on next week. We'll see if it's the real deal.
Well, no, anyway, he prefers silver chests.
Got another 40 minutes worth of Zoom time to...
yeah, I think we'll make it.
To get through? All right, let's go on to the next question. And good luck to everyone who's entered that giveaway. The next question is from Pocket Fury, who asks, can we see a Mac OS version for the Epic Games Store?
So the answer to that one, the short answer to that one is no. There are some technical challenges for us to get that working on Mac OS with the integration directly into Epic's system, which is something that that when we and actually, well, to be fair, we'll have to see if they've added or if they've created a Unity plugin for that, or if they will in the future. But as it stood when we initially integrated with them, they did not have sort of provided for plugin integration for that, and we ended up having to write our own, which was something that we had the technical know-how to do for Windows, but not something that we had for Mac, because Mac is really we're not Mac developers. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get that integration working, and it's something that we don't have plans for at this time, unless, like I say, in the future Epic releases a plugin for that one for us, because, like I say, that was just something we didn't have the technical know-how to do. But of course, it's available on Mac on Steam, so that's your option if you want to be if you're on Mac. But yeah, so not anytime soon for Epic Games and Mac OS. Okay. Next question is from McShizman. This question is for you, Justin. It is Sentry Speed item flowering hair vines supposed to be capped? The shiny rare seems capped, and at what would probably be the shiny rare cap of 419. But the Epic seems not to respect the shiny gilding, meaning the cap is way higher if there is one. To further make this funny, the card for the item says doing the rare shiny percentage of 744.3, but that doesn't match what it's doing to the effects on Sentry on the character sheet. I'm not sure I 100% follow that.
I'm not sure I 100% follow what's going on there. I'm not sure what is going on with that item. I will say that Sentry Speed item is one that we are looking at. We've seen sort of questions about it the last few weeks, and it is one that we're looking at. And we hope to kind of have some adjustments to that in the nearish future. So yes, it's on the list. And much like anything else, when or if that does get capped, or when it gets adjusted, if you have an item that's over the level, you'll get the sort of normal blacksmith contract compensation automatically.
Okay. Next question here, Justin. I don't know if you want to cover this. This was one I highlighted,
Sure.
but I think it's probably worth talking to.
Yep.
So this is a question here from OG17, and the question is the shop's quote-unquote actual value prices have always come across as arbitrary and as underhanded. Worst are the core character packs, claiming that 5 standard gold chests, 4 rare items, and 1 GE are worth $27, but none of it rests well. Could these be removed?
Yeah, so a good question. I think that the specific example here of the sort of the initial starter packs listing as worth $27, that definitely seems out of whack to me. The way that we come up with those actual value prices is based off just we have sort of a value that we assigned to various things. Like I think familiars are assigned $5 or $10, and a skin is $5, and gold chests are $1 a piece or something like that. And so that's kind of how we calculate those values. It's like if you were to buy everything that's in the pack separately, if we offered that, then that's kind of what it would be. Definitely these core character packs, $27 for some rare items and a GE and some chests don't seem right. So
now, is that specifically like I know there were 2 core character packs that we had been looking at to replace just because they were out of line.
Those ones have more chests, so that's not these ones.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is worth noting that many of the items you can get individually or in packs that we can look and say, all right, this is what we sell it for normally, and this is the value of that item if we just take it and divide it out. But some items, when we don't sell them individually, you have to look at those and say, well, what percentage of a particular pack do we count those as, and then value them like that. And I know there's always been sort of a discrepancy for players with certain items, like the GE. They look at that first golden chest piece or first chest pack with a golden epic, and they say, well, the golden epic to me is worth $5 in the chest, so I could take them or leave them. So it does kind of cause a sort of a discrepancy in terms of what you might value something as versus what we've taken it to be as the value if you actually bought that item individually. So most of them should have supporting places in the store where they are sold in a way that you could work that out, but not always. And I do think it's worth stating on those packs because it does point out cases where you're getting a better value than when you're getting a worse value. And so that's the idea is to say, hey, look, this is a really good value pack, I think certainly really important. So
yeah, I think it makes the most sense when it's something that is that you can buy separately. It makes less sense when it's something you can only buy in that pack. But I think it's still it's still in everyone's benefit to sort of know kind of the value of those items if they were able to be purchased separately.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to the next question. You can ask this next one to me. I guess this is one that I get a lot.
A fun one that we talk about a lot, but haven't done anything about. So let's talk about it some more. Right? We really should address this to some extent because it is a common question. This question, now that we've talked it up, is from Juan Chi Burzone. Oh no, I told you there'd be something we'd butcher words later on. Sorry, Juan. When are you going to implement a way to get uncommon items for champions that are capped at the ultimate slot or other slots? And so for players who aren't familiar, because of the way the chess system works, when you get a card, the system is intended to give you upgrades for cards, and once you are fully upgraded, it won't. There's no guarantee that it will give you a lower rarity card, and because if you are on any of the UIs other than the console UI, you have a collection screen that shows each of the rarities of the cards that you've collected. This can leave you with an open slot for the uncommon card, and for those who are really collection inclined, this is extremely frustrating.
Yes. And so it's mostly a problem on slots that are capped, like your ultimate cooldown slot or the occasional other slot, where literally the game will not drop that items for that slot anymore once you are at the item level cap for it. So it's something that we are aware of. It's something that we want to address. There's some debate about exactly the best way to address that, whether we just kind of allow those items to drop in regular chests, even though they don't do anything, or whether we have some sort of special way to get them. So you have to kind of buy into wanting to get these technically useless items, except for the fact that they complete your collection screen. It's something that we're aware of and is occasionally on our radar. But the problem is it's a low enough kind of priority that it certainly it hasn't gotten to the point where we're like, okay, let's implement this, because it is purely a visual thing for the collection screen.
And you get to read the description. Someone in the chat is saying they want to be able to read the descriptions. Some of them I know Chris Dupuis has pointed out that they have done jokes. Like it's an incremental joke running from card to card to card, and if you are missing one, you are missing part of the joke. So that's
we just can't allow that.
No, that seems incomplete. No, it's definitely something that we'd like to fix, but haven't gotten to finding a good solution to that. Should just put on the collection screen the option to buy it for gems or something. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question, a nice question, or rather a statement. This is from Hin Kraka.
Don't mess up their name. They said something nice about us.
Do my best. They say, if all C&E people weren't so damn nice, it would be easier to motivate not spending money on this game. Come on.
All right, well, I'm just going to keep on being nice, I guess.
Come on, man.
Sorry.
Okay. This question here is for you, Justin. It's kind of got a bit of an edge to it. It says, it's from Clarkington, and it says, when will we have an update to the Trials of Tiamat?
So there are some things in the next build lock, which should be hitting players sometime in mid-August, I think, that has some things for Trials of Mount Tiamat. I'm not 100% sure what made it in there. I think we had a meeting scheduled to go over what had made it in there, but I think that got bumped for something else. Hopefully we will have some good things in there. I know one of the things that I think got in was basically the ability to have the a trial auto start once everyone is in and has picked a champion. Because currently, basically the way it works is if the leader has to come back and hit the start button after everyone picks a champion, so it creates this kind of awkward delay from when the last person joins and picks their champion to when the campaign actually starts. So hopefully that is that gets out, and I think there's some other things in there too. I know we were trying to make some changes to the starting costs of trials, but I'm not 100% sure if that made it into this. So yeah, there are some updates coming. With that said, there are a bunch of other updates that aren't for Trials of Mount Team that haven't made it into this build lock or won't make it into this build lock. So there is more stuff that we want to do to Trials. We've got a big, huge list of it. It's just a matter of finding the dev time to get through it. Let's see. Next question. I can do the name of this one. This question is from XLXLXL. Who says new player here?
Missed an XL. There's 4 of them.
XL. Oh man!
Now say it.
I got cocky.
Don't just say the words. Just say it.
Zol. Anyway, new player here. I asked on Reddit, but I figure I'd ask here too. Is it possible to change the color of the border around the champions? I'm getting screen burn-in due to the contrast. Some of the white-haired characters like Whittle and Baeloth have a lot of contrast in their portrait as well. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a curious question for sure. Screen burn-in. Screen burn-in, I guess it's still technically a problem on maybe some OLEDs. Yeah, probably not something that would be likely to adjust. This probably falls into one of those categories where it's if a large number of players were having a difficulty with this or were concerned about it, that we would consider it. This is the first I've heard of this as a something to be a consideration. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much to say beyond that. I wasn't actually aware that would be a problem, but I guess it sort of is pretty static. So. Like the game is actually pretty static, but what's going on here?
There's some stuff about the pronunciation of this name.
Seriously, how is that relevant to the answer? The question I was answering. Yeah, so I mean, like I say, we'll keep an eye out for other players having a similar issue, but it's not something that without being a more broader problem that we would look at in general. I don't think sort of the color scheme or pattern of the game is something that we consider against sort of edge case display issues. But fair enough. We'll watch to see if that's more of a problem. And then the follow-up here was that they're saying that it's Roman numerals for 40, 40, 40, 40. So
makes sense.
So you pronounced it wrong, Justin.
I was pretty close. Zol. Let's go on to the next question.
Might as well. This one here is, oh no, this is from a name I can't pronounce again. This was Jan Sheep. I'm just going to shorten it to Jan. Can you please remove feats from wild offers? It just feels like a waste of a wild offer. Also consider pricing wild offers at $9.99. There's some wild offers for $20 that are an outright steal and horrendous value, which just beats the purpose of the offer and the marketing.
So good question. So we do actually, I believe the system for feats will sometimes offer multiple feats in a single wild offer if it thinks that the value of the offer is too low, or if it has that opportunity. It'll also, I think, offer feats and skins in the same wild offer sometimes. So I don't think we're going to remove feats from wild offers. One thing we do on a constant basis is, funny Dave, is go through and just adjust sort of the value that we consider an item to be for. So I think feats are pretty low right now. I think we value them at like $250 or something like that in a wild offer. And we're generally trying for like a $10 wild offer to stick in $15 or $20 worth of stuff. And so I do think that the feat offers will generally have more other stuff. They'll have more potions, more secondary chests, bounty contracts or gems, etc. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that we're looking at, and we make adjustments if they are not getting if they're not getting purchased.
Okay. Next question, which is either from, is that Hatter or would you go with Hater? I think we'll go with Hatter.
I think I'm a Hatter. It's 2 T's.
No? Hatter World asks, when are you going to fix the AFK glitch where you go AFK, but it turns off the auto progress, even though you left it on? Huh? When are you going to fix that, Justin?
When am I? I'm never going to fix that because that's not my department. But I would say that I'm not aware of any glitch where it would just turn off auto progress. The only time that it would turn off auto progress is if you hit a boss or an area and you get defeated and your party gets knocked back. That's the only reason that auto progress would get turned off. In that event, I mean that the exact same thing would happen if you weren't AFK. If you hit that boss and you got knocked back, auto progress would turn off. So with that said, we have considered the potential of letting players put a familiar on the auto progress button, so that just if you get knocked back and it gets turned off, the familiar is just like no, we're going forward, and just turns auto progress back on. The reason we don't have that as sort of a base feature is because what would potentially happen is you sort of get to an area where you can't kill enemies, and then you get knocked back, and then you go to the back in the previous area, and then you go forward again, and you can't kill the enemies again, and basically you'd come back to you ping-ponging between those two areas with no gold really, because you were unable to kill enough enemies in the next area to progress. So you'd basically, it's better off in the long run if you sort of get knocked back and are able to kind of farm on the previous area, because at least you'll come back to a bunch of gold. You can spend it to level your guys up, and then smash your way through the next 40 or 50 areas pretty easily.
Yeah. So sort of the long and the short of that is, in general, if you're not using modern automation or something like that, you are expected that if you got up, walked away, and came back a few hours later, that you would find yourself at an area grinding away with auto progress off, because as soon as you got to sort of the highest area you could reach, you would have bounced back one area, and then auto progress would automatically turn off. So some of the expected value. Yeah.
Let us find the next question. A question from you can ask this next one here.
All right. Yeah, no, this is a good one. This question is from X Jogu. What are your opinions on crafting potions using others, or having merchant patron shop for it, where you could spend rare currency to buy 10 epic or something
like 100. I think
rare. I see. They're saying buy or spend your potions to buy higher level potions. Yeah.
Yeah, like a trading shop of sort of trading up or trading down. I guess you could trade down as well if you wanted to get a bunch of sort of small potions for I use small speed potions in my Modron setup to farm Modron levels. So I could see wanting to trade down to small and then keep on going. But yeah,
is something we've talked about.
We have talked about this. I think it's a cool idea. There'd obviously be a bunch of sort of UI and implementation time on something like this. But yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of it, because certainly it's having those huge potions are sort of better than having the small ones. You still want to have some large and medium and small potions because they all stack with each other, but I could see trading up for a bunch of huge potions, or trading up like bounty contracts or blacksmithing contracts as well.
Yeah, and it's something that would help you get through that inventory. If you have enough of the other potions, you're probably just not using those small ones as frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that's a win-win, like to implement for us as developers and designers, and you guys as gamers, because anything that gets you guys to use all the stuff in your inventory means that you will want more stuff to use in your inventory.
No
right?
hoarding.
So yeah, this is something that I think we will definitely do at some point. It's just a matter of once again finding the dev time to do it.
Yeah.
Next question from Gusto Punch is, could you please change the color or enhance the boldness around the numbers on the ultimate attack cooldown timer? White on the icons makes it really hard to read. I play on a smaller window while I'm doing other stuff on my PC, and some of the items or the icons with solid white are extremely difficult to see. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can definitely take a look at. It sounds like what's being described is like sort of the the color that is there on like a white background, I think is what it's saying, that doesn't show up. And so certainly cases like that can occur, and it really just needs like a better shadow or a better outline. It sounds like something we can definitely look at. So I'm going to highlight that. It sounds like it's actually be a fairly easy thing to do. So we'll toss that onto the list to get looked at. There it goes. It's highlighted. You can't see it, but it is. Justin will tell you.
It is. It's in yellow now.
Okay, let's see. It's 2:55, so we have probably time for maybe one or potentially two more questions. So,
did you get a chance to watch the trailer that was posted in the?
No, I
the
didn't.
Idle Champions channel? Oh, yeah, missed out. It came out just before we started our stream.
Oh.
Anyway, that's what that question is about.
Well, let's start with that one then and back up. This question here is from our question asker of the stream, Super Fluffy Kitty. Will we perhaps see characters from the upcoming 2023 D&D film? I'd like a Chris Pine character to swoon over.
Oh, wouldn't we all? Yeah, if you haven't seen the trailer yet for the D&D film that's coming out next year, definitely go check that out. It's Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, coming out next year sometime. I know much about it as you guys do, but we don't have any super inside information. So I was really excited to watch the trailer. It looks like a really fun experience. So I'm looking forward to that next year. As far as the characters go, I'm not sure what the ownership of those is like. So we'll have to see. That'll be a future us question for will we be able to snag any of those characters. But it looks like there's some fun ones in there. So I mean, that would be fun for me to be able to design those. Yeah,
for sure. Definitely like to have a Chris Pine character.
We can do all sorts of skins that will get us sued by all sorts of IPs.
What I was thinking. Oh dear. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Next question here, which I think is probably going to be our last question for time. This one here is. Let's go with this one, Justin. Yes.
Sure. We already kind of touched on this earlier in the stream, but we can button it with that.
Sure. This question is from Akna Shark, and they're asking, is there anything in the works to upgrade or update the current difficulty rating system?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about this earlier in the stream, how it's actually very challenging to have sort of an accurate difficulty when you go and start an adventure. This is like when you go to start an adventure and it says like difficulty, like challenging, difficulty easy, difficulty deadly. And it's actually really hard to do a really good job of that because of variants, basically. Variants that restrict the champions you can use means we can't use necessarily like a single value for that, because the difficulty of a variant is going to be based off of sort of what champions you can bring into it. So there could be a variant where I can bring in 12 champions because I've got all 100 and whatever champions unlocked, but you're sort of a newer player and you've only got 2 or 3 champions that are available for you in that adventure. And then like, do we say that it's a really high difficulty when it's not too bad for me because I've got a bunch of champions I can use, but it's next to impossible for you because you've only got a couple of champions we can use? So it's actually a really, really hard thing to do. But it is something we would like to be able to do, because we'd like to be able to warn players before they jump into a variant like, no, don't jump into this variant. It's going to be impossible for you. Go out, grind up some more favor, recruit some more champions, and then give it a try. But it's just a really tough thing to do, and we really do need to address that at some point sooner rather than later.
Yeah. All right. Good. Stop there because we are basically it for time.
So I'm going to kick us out again?
Yeah, that's right. No. One comment here I'm going to add, and that is, I know this is going to be disappointing when Justin talks about when we're going to be next on, but we have a question here from Wilhelm Scream that we didn't get to, and I just want you to know that is a really good question, and we definitely have thoughts on that, but you may have to wait a little bit to hear those, because that is all we have time for today.
It's true. If we didn't get to your question, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We'll be live again at this same time in a few weeks. unless Dave actually gets that creepy rubber mask. But before we sign off, we'd like to thank we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was actually Martin and Jordan, so thank you to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, and enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we love what we do. We love it.
Anyway, that's enough for today. Enjoy the rest of your days, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
You were supposed to be a little more genuine.
I wanted to go out on a really high note. That was very genuine.
All right. And if you didn't catch it, we are on vacation, or Justin's on vacation for 2 weeks, so we will be back after that.
Bye.